Welcome back to Blue Collar Coder, and today we're going to dig deep in my obscurity bag for today's Tech-A-Day. We're going to do in-memory GraphQL on the client. Why would you even think of such a thing? Well, the idea is that sometimes you need to make a query interface for your data, filter this, search for that. What if you didn't have to do that? What if you just used GraphQL in memory? Let's go check it out in the code. All right, GraphQL memory. This is a fun one. So I got the idea for this from Gatsby, because this Gatsby actually does GraphQL in memory for when it goes through all of its data structures and builds out pages, and its data model is in essentially GraphQL, and then everything works off of pulling GraphQL, which is great, and it's all in memory. Okay, so we're going to build this little to-do list app. It's all in Material UI, and it uses GraphQL as its data storage. So, okay. And we'll just add an item, donate toilet paper. There you go. All right. So I'm going to use a little starter app here. It's just a basic React app, and we can take a look at what's in the package JSON. It's basically a parcel app, and it's got Material UI, GraphQL, and also React DOM. The reason I'm doing this way is I did have, in all honesty, some issues around versioning with between GraphQL and GraphQL tools. So this was just the way to make it work every time. Okay, so here we're just going to change it so that now we've got hello in there. Cool. And we are going to start building out our store. So the first thing we need to do is bring in GraphQL and build schema. And then we got to define our schema. And our schema at this point just has a query in it that'll give us the tasks, and then a mutation, which allows us to add tasks. So then we'd have to build the schema to actually build a real schema, not just a piece of text. And then we create our resolver set. So we have a resolver for query, and then we have a resolver for the mutation that goes and adds in a new task. Next, we've got our starting set of data, just some basic tasks. They call that the root in this system. And then finally, we need to combine the schema and the resolvers together. So we use this GraphQL tools function called add resolver functions to schema, which does that for us. And now we're pretty much good to go. So let's go ahead and create our query function. That's going to take a GraphQL query and then some variables, and then just run GraphQL with the schema and the root values. All right. So the next thing to do is to go into our UI and just try it out. So we're going to call query, give it a GraphQL query, and that gives us back a promise. So we'll just return that data. We'll take a look over in the console. And there you go. Looking pretty good. Got the tasks. Looks like we've got something there. So let's go bring in some Material UI imports. And then we'll set up our state. And then we're basically going to create the same thing, but now as a function called runQuery. And now it does a set tasks with the data that gets back. And so we'll use an effect to run that when it first starts up. And then we'll create our layout. So we have a container, baseline the CSS, and we'll create a list that has all the list items in it. And this is pretty much just straight Material UI. Hit list it refresh, and there you go. How about that? Pretty cool. Okay. So the next thing to do is add a mutation. So we're going to create an onAdd function that will add to a button. And that's going to do that add task with a name. So now let's go create some state for that, because you have to have some state. And then go and add in the UI. And that's basically a grid that's got the text field and the button. And when we hit the button, it does a mutation and then makes another query to go get the updated data. All right, there you go. GraphQL in memory. So have some fun with that. And if you like this video, please like it. And of course, if you want to subscribe, I'm always down for that. New subscribers are awesome. And in the meantime, stay happy, stay healthy, and stay safe.